The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Hello to everybody except for Alexander Edler, who
has never done anything wrong in his life.
Never.
I learned that last night.
I have never seen a more pointless hockey player in a more pointless game do something so stupid. Listen, Vancouver can have the win.
I know Adam does.
They can have the point back.
Calling Edler a pointless hockey player is a little absurd.
He's pointless. Okay.
He leads the Canucks in every defenseman stat for their franchise history.
Doesn't matter. He's stupid. So
History.
Like franchise.
He
stay away
certainly
from
is
me with
historic.
your facts. Miss me with your facts, Jesse. Okay.
To quote Mike Rupp, you're irrelevant out here. Just the worst.
There's a reason Edler's making what Edler's making. It might be the last year of his deal, but the guy was pretty flippin' important. But also is known for certain things, and
being nice.
Yeah,
being
occasionally he gets a knee out, and it's a bummer. It's such a bummer to see that happen. And obviously, it was so funny going into the game yesterday because there were so many mixed feelings, and it just felt like the Leafs were going to lose. Like anytime another team has some sort of something on the line, the Leafs go, you know what? We're just going to give it to you. It's shocking. They lose every game where there's like an emotional win for the other side of the team. And I don't know why that is. It just seems to be a franchise thing, not just this iteration, every iteration.
I know why.
Why?
And it's related to a topic that we're going to discuss later in the show. The big soccer hubbub, the hullabaloo. Did you see Gary Neville, Sky Sports? He was angrily talking about all these teams breaking off and doing their own Champions League, which we'll talk about later. And he referred to them as bottle merchants.
Bottle merchants.
And I was just like, that's exactly the sort of British nonsense I would expect to hear in a conversation about that. Well, so I saw an article, and it was basically just full of people like myself going, what, Mr. Neville, is a bottle merchant?
Mm-hmm.
So with some football fans searching for a meaning behind Gary Neville's term, others came to the rescue. One Twitter user explained a bottle merchant is a coward, someone who talks the talk but doesn't walk the walk. Another example followed. It's usually used to describe a team who regularly can't handle high pressure matches, who gets themselves into a position of winning something, but then screws up. Yep, that's you. Honor, pride, courage, bottle merchant.
I'm gonna have Jesse explain the whole the Super League thing later on in the show because I think we need to discuss it. But in the meantime, Alex Bottle Merchant Edler, you can go to heck, sir. I am bummed about Zach Hyman, but I see what Edler did, and I don't actually think it was one of those where it was blatant, but it wasn't the most egregious thing I've ever seen in my life. Does that make sense?
I liked Bieksa's explanation in the intermission there because he said that no NHL player would intentionally try and knee someone because you don't know the impact of the knee that's going to happen to yourself. You don't know who's going to get the worst of that knee collision. So it could be yourself. So you wouldn't want to go out and just knee somebody. I'm not buying it fully because I seen hockey players try and do it intentionally, get a slew foot in there, but it makes sense that you wouldn't try and just hit somebody with your knee because it could be worse for you.
Well, and so this is, I don't care if I get heat for this. I don't give a shit. What am I going to get? Benefit of the doubt from Canucks fans? Get out of here. Listen, it is a danger to play a team that hasn't played in a month. Now, not for losing, the Leafs should have won. Let's start there and say that right off the hop. Playing a team that hasn't played in a month, you are in danger. You're putting yourself into a vulnerable position because they're going to do sloppy, stupid nonsense like that. He was at the end of a long shift. I don't know what to tell you. You're in the NHL game, played on an NHL ice surface. The game had begun, and you were on the roster. You didn't have to be. And you stuck your knee out and took out a very important player. I don't know what to tell you. So, even if there's no intention, having a player that out of practice and that sloppy, it's a danger to the players on the other team. And he injured Zach Hyman as a result.
And how bad? Do we know anything yet?
No, supposedly Dreger said it's probably, or it doesn't seem like it's as bad as it looked. Good. But that is the knee that Hyman had surgery on, that kept him out for the beginning of last season.
Well, and the logical thing to do then in the playoffs is to start him on every penalty kill shift as the centerman, don't you think? Whoever we play. I think that's what we should do.
I love how there are so many examples of Babcock's utter shitheadery that come up on a daily basis to get mad at. Every time Marner sets up Matthews.
Let's go head to head with Patrice Bergeron in the face-off dot.
Anything to do with Hyman's knee, anything to do with Spezza, just get out of here. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's crazy. Now, with all due respect to Vancouver Canucks fans, pretty great win. If you're a fan of the Canucks, and if your dressing room is somewhat maybe a little out of sync, which there have been a few suggestions that maybe the Canucks dressing room is, boy, does this ever reunite your team. This is a win you can build around. And even if they don't make the playoffs, which it doesn't look like they will, one thing that they'll always look back on is this game. And they'll build on this game going into training camp next season. It's something that if I'm Bo Horvat, I'm like, this proves that we can do it. Absolutely. And all we need to do is execute.
And I apologize for my snide Canucks fans comment. It's just the trolls. Canucks fan trolls have energy unmatched by any other fan base.
Are you sure?
And I think it has to do with just the trolls. I think it has something to do with the time zones because they have the energy. They'll go late into the night and then it dies for a little bit. And then what happens around 10 or 11 Eastern is they all wake up and they go right back at it. Right back at it. I was my mentions were still flooded this morning. And I'm like, do anything but what you're doing. Drink some water, fold your clothes. Good Lord. Live a life.
Yep.
Anyway, yes, very inspiring win by the Canucks. And it was amazing that Bo Horvat was the one who scored the goal. The captain, it's just a little bit too perfect, don't you think? A little too Disney movie.
Yeah, I think we should, the Leafs fans who are calling it a David Ayers loss yesterday, that's a little aggressive. We need to save the pants pooping for games that actually matter.
Well,
this wasn't the time to have the meltdown. The team is 10-4-1 in the last 15 games.
And I think they're second in expected goals for in the entire league.
They dominated. But they dominated last night in every single advanced metric, and they got beat by a really hot goalie. They got a goal taken back. It wasn't a bad game.
And you walk away with a point.
They play a lot of good goalies. This team plays a lot of good goalies.
It's entirely
a lot of really good goalies in this league. You know what's good is in the playoffs, all the goalies suck.
I think it's entirely possible that one team walks away and goes, okay, it was a loss. The other team goes, that was our most emotional victory of the season. It's entirely possible that both teams do not have equal and opposite reactions to that. And what did Austin Matthews have? 12? Austin Matthews had 12 slot chances last night?
Yeah.
He was real good.
What are the chances that happens in a game and he doesn't score 3?
100% that it happens to the Leafs, though.
Well, okay.
That's not true.
Stop talking numbers with the Leafs. They don't apply. They do not apply.
Yeah, but
you don't give up 3-goal leads in the third period of a game 7. You don't lose to an E-bug. You don't lose to a team after out shooting them and they haven't played for a month. Yes, and yes. It's the Leafs. Always.
Steve, you can't have a conversation about the game if you're not going to be rational about it.
This isn't called the Rational Guy Podcast, is it? God.
I thought it was.
I just think with there's how many games we got to the playoffs? 10 games? 10 games to the playoffs. It's just this wasn't the one where it's let's get all mad about it. Let's get mad when they lose in the playoffs.
When will it be?
When the games actually matter, not this.
They go 0-13 before the playoffs. You're not mad.
Yeah, you're making up a scenario where it would be reasonable to get mad. Yeah,
right,
get mad.
So there's one. What's the bar? All right, they go 1-12.
Yeah.
All right, they go 2-10.
Keep counting.
How many wins do you need? What?
No, but 10-4-1 isn't enough to be happy.
I think it is more than enough.
I've had this conversation with many people. As a person who cares, I can't fathom not.
Yeah.
So I don't understand I don't understand people who don't care about things.
Do you die on? Are you going to die on every hill? Like,
we're dying on every regular season game.
We care. But dude,
this wasn't every regular season game. It was a game against a team that hadn't played since March 24th.
And Braden Holtby stood on his head. They got their emotional victory, and it means nothing to Toronto. Like,
it can mean everything to them and nothing to us.
Steve, if we win tomorrow night, this will be forgotten. I think the game's tomorrow night, isn't it? Tomorrow night?
Yes. No. Okay. Yeah. Tomorrow.
Yeah. So the postponed game's tomorrow night. Was supposed to be tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, I got to learn time travel then. I got to listen. You want me to do a video after every game? You got to accept that I'm going to react to every game. All right. So I'll react to the next one when it happens. But this one was embarrassing. You can't tell me it's not embarrassing. I don't think it's David Ayres embarrassing, but it's embarrassing.
It's not David Ayres embarrassing, but I also don't think, and even like Keith Olbermann like commented on the game, and it's like, okay, Keith.
He was too aggressive, and he needs to get off my lawn. Okay, was it an amazing win for the Canucks?
Yeah. Without question.
Yeah.
Was it an inspiring win for the Canucks?
Sure.
Yeah. Why?
Because they had just had COVID and they were off for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Cool. You should beat them.
No,
I agree.
But they're professional players. They're going out and they're trying to win too.
I
the
agree.
other team isn't rolling over.
Who are the Leafs then? Some beer league team?
The team isn't rolling over.
Just because he's saying one team's professional does not mean he's not saying the other team's professional.
Thank you, Adam. This isn't a reasonable conversation.
Steve, I think the thing is, if I were to take the middle road between the two of you here, it's possible for the Canucks and their fans to be inspired and wowed by the Canucks victory. It's also possible for Leaf fans to look at this constructively and go, should have had that one. We got 1 out of 2 points. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'm not even I'm not even saying the game was meaningless. I'm saying we should have won a game and let's go get the next one.
Oh, get off my front step with your clipboard. I'm not converting.
I guess he's talking about you knocking on his door and trying to convince him that the Leafs losing last night isn't the end of the season.
Yeah.
So what is Steve, what is your reaction to the game? Is the Leafs have no hope? Like, I don't understand.
Listen, I understand that they outshot them and they outchanced them and they were the better team. All right. But I'm investing in this team's playoff hopes, right? And people are like, Myrtle said something that just made me laugh so hard. He's like, you know what? There's no reason to panic. And he posts some numbers, and people are posting. Like he posted their 9-3-3 in their last 15. Like they haven't lost 4 straight.
Oh, is it 9-3-3? Sorry, I got that wrong.
Here, let me just ignore that they've lost 4 straight. Okay, if it's relevant that they're 9-3-3 in their last 15, then it's relevant that they've lost 4 straight.
No, because one is a larger sample size, so both can be relevant. You know.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Proportions. Yeah.
So yes, they were good. Now they're bad. Like. Okay, like how do we separate it then? How should we separate it? So I'm just supposed to ignore the last 4 games. And he goes, now the one concern might be goaltending, but that's it. And I'm like, the most important thing. And Campbell overnight looks small in the net. Pucks are going through him. Like, I guess it's just regression. I guess what is his record since we had the Vezina conversation? This is all Greg Wyshynski's fault. He put the voodoo on Jack Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Greg was saying. He's won 1 game since I talked to him, and he allowed 5 goals in that game. This is my fault.
It might be like 1-2-1, like, or 1-3-1. It's not that bad.
You know what? You guys are right, and I'm so sorry.
This is between the two.
I'm so sorry. I want to personally apologize to the Leafs for having expectations and expecting more out of them. You know, because what I should have done, I'm so sorry. I should have looked at their first place record and gone, it's bad actually. It's bad actually. And they should expect to get goalied a lot. Yeah. No, it's bad.
No, but you do get goalied though. You do.
Yeah, and they've won a lot of games this season.
Yeah, is it possible? Lost their last 4. Braden Holtby kicked ass last night.
He did.
It was amazing
against the Leafs. Dave Riddick, Leaf killer, and who the Joey Decord, Leaf killer. a lot of Leaf killers in the North.
Adam, you keep
Connor Hellebuck, Leaf killer.
Me. You keep
Mike
siding
Smith,
me.
Leaf killer.
Adam, you
They're
keep siding me. Hold on, Steve. You keep siding me on the opposite end of Steve, but I don't think I'm there. I think I'm more just kind of, hey, they lost, but it's not the end of the world. You know?
It's not. Again,
which I think
they
is
win tomorrow
reasonable.
night. Here's the thing: they win tomorrow night. They take 3 or 4 from the Canucks. 3 or 4 points they possibly can get. Then who cares? So go win the game and do it for Zach Hyman and go win. That's it.
Your friggin' time machine. Do it. Do it.
I don't like Steve. You represent an enormous amount of the Leafs fan base. And so I understand the point of view that you're coming from. My, and I think Jesse's point here is that I don't know if it matters that much. If it really matters that much. It matters to the Canucks. I don't think it matters to the Leafs. I don't think it matters.
I'm encouraging everyone who thinks that not to watch the next game.
Why?
Well, because it doesn't matter.
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on, what?
That's what you
it
said,
doesn't
Adam.
matter.
You know,
What I'm
that's
talking
Oh, come on, what?
No, Steve said the game. You said the games don't matter.
Oh, come
What
on,
I mean
what?
is it a
And when
big
we're allowed
picture.
back in the building, don't you dare stand for a goal. And shut up. I'm trying to listen to the sounds of the game. I love to hear the sounds of the skates cutting into the ice. I love to hear the ping off the bar. I hate when people go, oh, when the ping's off the bar. Stop interrupting the ambience. Oh, I don't get people who don't care. I wish I was more like you, but I really wish you were a little bit more like me.
I do care. I do care. I just think in a 56 game season, you're going to have a couple stinkers, and number one or not, like you're going to stink sometimes. Like that happens, and they still walked away with a point.
Good.
Also,
What does the point matter?
They didn't even stink. They outplayed the other team.
Yeah, like you're gonna. It
Lost.
happens. Like this is like we've been following this forever. Like this happens.
The expectation that your
regularly.
favorite team is going to go 56-0 is unreasonable.
Okay,
Especially
they've
if you're
lost
a Leafs
this.
fan.
They've lost this, though. They've lost this. They were the better team against Boston. Lost the series.
No, you're
They
not.
had this ridiculous.
No,
They had this ridiculous shooting percentage against Columbus.
Okay.
Oh, how many more times?
You can't. This isn't that.
I sure can.
This game.
continue.
This game isn't that.
This game isn't the playoffs. Those are different portions of a hockey season. Some games mean more than other games. I
And
don't.
they're going to be fine.
We'll see. We don't know that.
We'll see. So in the meantime, any sports show today going is not doing their job. Fire them and get a new show.
Okay. Oh, so you want us to fake overreact?
No, I want you to care naturally like I do.
You know what? The Leafs have
Aggressively
lost
about
it.
everything.
We're trying to put this in perspective.
Oh, gosh.
Perspective is important here. The Leafs have the best goal differential in the division. They've got the second highest expected goals in the league. They had, Jack Campbell wasn't at his best last night. Let's be honest. Braden Holtby was Stanley Cup form, Washington Capitals 2017 Braden Holtby, which I'm sure the Canucks are like thrilled about. Like, got to be thrilled because
Of course.
if him and Demko can do that regularly, holy smokes, that's a great goaltending tandem. I just think, ultimately, and we'll move on from this debate because obviously it's very passionate. If the Leafs even if the Leafs don't win the next game, it's sort of like, okay, I think at this
Game
point,
47.
I think we're pretty clear on what the Leafs are, and that's a
46. Not that it matters.
it's a damn good
No,
hockey
the next
team.
one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
We're clear on what the Leafs are. They're a damn good hockey team. Yes, I understand the playoffs are smaller sample sizes, but based on some of the wins the Leafs have had this year, not too concerned about it. The Leafs have beaten the Canucks this year. They've beaten up on every team in the division. The Senators have beaten them 3 times. I think that bothers me more than the Canucks winning last night. That's where I'm at with this. Because at least the Senators don't have the talent. The Canucks do.
Just for the Leafs lost 4 straight. They're 0-2-2. There's 2 OT losses in there. So we have the numbers right before people.
4-game winless streak.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with a losing streak.
well,
So-
glad they picked up a point in 2013.
6-2-2 in their last 10.
Steve.
At least they picked up a point.
Yeah,
All right.
End of the season, guys.
So let's get into who wore the crown. Jesse, who's it brought to you by?
All right. So this gentleman I'm going to give him the initial R because that's his name on Twitter, just R dot.
R dot, all right.
R dot, and we have a little message here.
I'm always amazed by short ats. Like, what are the odds you'd be able to get that?
No, that's not his at. That's the name. Like, you know where you wite your name in on Twitter?
Yeah.
So he says, I became a Leafs fan this year. I still don't really understand the strategy of the game, but it is getting a bit clearer for me. I found your guys' podcast from the interview you had with Edge. You guys make hockey fun and easy to understand for a novice like me. Living in the Bay Area, hockey isn't a huge sport. Yes, we have the Sharks, but I never connected with them. With having to work from home for over a year in this panoramic, having something to look forward to that brings me joy like the Leafs has been a bright spot for my mental health. Thank you guys for making the Leafs fun, and you guys help grow a new fan. So there you go. Adam, if you could take a liner off of that.
Well, I think I can do that, Jesse. And listen, R dot, we want to say shout out. Thank you so much for joining the community. It's a strong, fun, 8 years running community of fanatics that follow hockey. It's not just Leaf fans here. So thanks so much for listening. And listen, anytime you want to truly be a fanatic, make sure you take a page out of Steve's book. Why not get upset about a loss that's really inconsequential along and short of things? But hey, I wonder. Okay. I think after the segment's done, I think we need to discuss something. There was a point Steve made in there about caring that I want to get to because I think it's really interesting, and I think that there is a certain amount of differentiation on what we consider caring. So we'll get into that in a little bit. First, though, I would like one of you two to give a crown. So which one? Who wants it?
I'll step up to the plate.
All right.
My crown today goes to William Nylander. First game back. Snipes it. Unbelievable.
You look great, by the way.
Looked awesome. I think his expected goals was like 84%, which is, if you know about expected goals, is a ridiculous number.
You realize how much the team misses him, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when everybody was talking about, hey, that second line with Tavares and whoever's fill-ins are doesn't look as good without William Nylander, this is true. Because now you look at what he did back. Also, I'm giving him entirely all of the credit for breaking the power play streak. That pass to Austin Matthews didn't get through to Austin Matthews, but it somehow found its way to Austin Matthews, and he did his magic and he hit it in the puck. And that was a pass from William Nylander. So thank you. I know he was on the ice, I believe, for that OT goal, but we're not going to talk about that. He had a great game overall besides that. So,
all right.
My crown goes to William.
Let's move on to someone who cares. Steve Dangle, who do you give your crown to?
The only one of us who cares about this team.
Only one. Proven, documented. I'm going to give the crown to the entire Vancouver Canucks team. Just because, I mean, my God. They hadn't played since March 24th. They hadn't won since March 19th. I think they still have 9 players on protocol or who weren't available. And I think they do have at least 2 players on protocol. What they've gone through, the stress, the everything, unfathomable. I would have given them the crown had they won or not. So you got to give it to them for
on a human level.
On a human level. Yeah, forget hockey. Like, they could have lost 7-0. I would have given them the crown.
Just to show up.
Because, yeah, it's, there's still a debate as to whether or not they should even be playing, but they did, and they won, and hats off to them.
My crown is going to be a double crown. My first part of my crown goes to Braden Holtby. Unbelievable game. And I don't think, listen, you can say what you want about the Canucks victory. That was Braden Holtby's victory. Like, I'm sorry to the rest of the players, but Braden Holtby was the standout in that game. Braden Holtby is the reason they were in that game. There was a point at which I think the Leafs were out shooting them like 30-15. Braden Holtby is the reason the Vancouver Canucks won last night. So to me, it's less of a team win, more of a Braden Holtby stole the show, and good for him. It's been a tough ride. And we were kind of talking about it, I think it was 2 episodes ago. Like, ever since Barry Trotz left Washington, things just haven't been the same for Braden. And I believe there was an injury in there. Am I wrong in that? There was some sort of something, was there not?
At least one. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
So the vintage Dominic Hasek cartwheel save was on.
That was amazing.
Oh, just
on him.
Just unreal.
It was incredible. It was great. And so Braden Holtby was always going to get my crown. But after starting this episode, it's clear that my crown must also go to Steve Dangle for caring. Steve?
Here.
Adam.
Is he leaving? Where's he going?
Where's he going?
Am I in trouble? Oh, is there a crown? There must be a crown.
He's going to get the crown.
Put it on. Put it on. Hey! I like it, Steve.
There you go. Doesn't fit around my head and the headphones.
As soon as you wrap this segment, I have a question.
Okay. All right.
You're going.
Well, let me wrap it. R. Thank you so much for checking out the show, for being a new member of the community. Make sure you check out our Reddit page, reddit.com/r/Steve Dangle. It's more than just obviously our page. It's Steve's page. So everything that he does is sort of in there as well. And you can connect the community there or on YouTube in the comments. We've got some great comments every week that are hilarious. It's very cool because once everybody gets together, it's like we're all friends, even though it's just a bunch of friends that have never met each other. So when that happens again, hopefully you're able to come to one of those. And thank you so much for listening. And why not care about your local NHL team the way Steve Dangle and Steve Dangle only cares about his?
Just me.
Small businesses are grappling with the impact of these uncertain times and looking for resources. That's why, for the second year in a row, Dell Technologies is assembling an all-star lineup of podcasters to create the first ever virtual conference to share advice and inspiration for small businesses of all kinds. Dell Technologies is here to help safeguard your business with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro to provide relevant content for your business's success. Search Dell Technologies Small Business Podference on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Odyssey.com starting May 10th.
Alone on an island.
So let me ask you this, Jesse. I got a question. Let me just start this, and I know you have a question too.
Okay. I think it's going to be your question, so go ahead.
Define care about a team for you.
Steve, go ahead.
No, Jesse first.
I thought it was Jesse, yeah.
You need to ask more about the question.
Okay, all right.
So it's too broad.
Okay, so if I were to narrow it down for you, let's say your team loses when they shouldn't. Is it okay to say that you would it be true? I'm going to ask like a lawyer. Would it be true, or would you consider it to be the truth if you could keep that loss in perspective over the course of 56 games and still care about your team and not be heartbroken by it?
I don't think someone's reaction to a result shows how much the person cares about the team.
Steven, same question.
That makes sense.
No, it's just, listen, we're not talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're not talking about the Arizona Coyotes or the Minnesota Wild. It's the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're always the other team in Air Bud. Always, every time. There is literally, before you think that's over the top, they're making a movie about the David Ayres game. It happened just over a year ago. It's always them. Stop talking about this. Like, I got to take the crown off. It's not going to stay on. I don't know. I don't understand why people are talking about this. Like it's a regular Monday. And, I just lost to a team that took a month off. It's always the Leafs. Always. And it doesn't matter because we're heading into the playoffs. Maroon! This, yes, exactly. These games are about playoff preparation. And they lost to a team. The prerequisite for that game was they should be the better team. Mm-hmm. And they were, thank God. Thank God. They get outshot the opposite. You switch the shots around, I'd be even more mad. But I was just looking at that shot clock. You were saying the shots were like 30 to 15 at one point. I saw that too, and I went, it's just going to make me more mad when they lose. And then they did. And then heading into overtime, I tweeted they were going to lose. They lost. It's the Leafs. Everybody. God, I always feel like the scientist in a disaster movie. No, except I'm saying ignore the charts. Yeah, you don't understand. It's the Leafs. Put your charts away. That's how I feel, man.
They do lose spectacularly. That's an undeniable point.
Yeah.
They lose spectacularly on the biggest stage. If there is a huge stage, they're losing on it. But this, I have to say, the team that we saw last year going into the David Ayres game, forget David Ayres for a second.
Horrible.
Fragile, terrible team.
Just awful.
Tons of talent. No, nothing to put together. And I know they went on that, 20-5 run with Sheldon Keefe when they started or something like that.
Yeah.
But all the same, it seemed a little like we were excited, but if you go back and listen to the shows, we weren't that excited.
They were good for a while. They're looking good,
but
and then they turned into 20 root canals on skates. Like,
it was bad.
Agony.
Yeah. Like being a Leafs fan for the last 18 months, forget COVID. Like the previous 18 months of hockey has not been fun. No. Babcock's last season and a half were awful. And the team this year, to me, looks dominant. It's a strong team. And they've had tons of injuries. They've managed their way through them, and they should be the top team in the division, and they are.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. No denying the team by and large looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And just when I was like, yeah, I'm all in on this shit, that happens. And I'm just like, okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe they will be better next game. Sure hope so. Sure hope so. We got another show Thursday.
I think they will.
Talk about it then.
Now, here's the one thing about the Edler thing I did want to mention. What wasn't clear from NHL player safety, at least for what I read today, was that he'll have a hearing. Is it an in-person hearing or a telephone hearing?
I think they're all telephone now.
Yeah, so they're all Zoom meetings now.
Okay.
So we don't really get the little hint about, because if it's in person, that means their suspension is coming. But we don't really get that hint anymore because they're all virtual.
I guess we'll see then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it is what it is. The Leafs are what they are, and we'll see what happens going into the playoffs. Now, I do want to talk about Patrick Marleau here, guys. It's, every time something good happens to Patrick Marleau, I think as Leaf fans, you go, oh, like you wish it could have worked out better here. And I think there were two things going against that. Number one is 2 Game 7 losses against Boston. That was the worst. Number two, where he was good, no question. Number two is the amount of money that he was paid in a 3-year contract. If Patrick Marleau was making Joe Thornton money or Wayne Simmons money or whatever at that time, because the first season he was here, he scored like 20-something goals. He was pretty good.
27
goals.
Wow.
Not a joke. Now I know some of the people are like, well, some of those are empty netters. Well, okay. So
all right.
I believe it counts. So the first season, it seemed kind of well worth it. The second season, you could see the sort of the age catch up, and having that third year, it was not Patrick Marleau's fault that he was offered a third year. It was Lou Lamoriello's fault. And what they should have done was they should have offered him more money over 2 years than anybody else. And that would have been a perfect setup, perfect scenario. So it's a shame the way he had to go, meaning they traded him and then he was bought out and we had to, give up a first-round pick for that. Because Patrick Marleau was an upstanding citizen here and absolutely beloved in the dressing room. And seeing him getting ready to pass Gordie Howe tonight for all-time NHL games played is pretty freaking spectacular. You talk about a record that you thought probably never going to get broken, and here we are.
He hasn't missed a game since the 08-09 season. So he hasn't missed a game since like the Leafs acquired Phil Kessel. Since John Tavares was no, that was the season before Tavares was a rookie. That Luke Schenn was just drafted.
Wow.
Drew Doughty was just drafted. Stamkos was a pimply faced kid, barely making the lineup with head coach Barry Melrose, all of which were a thing. Those were that was the last time. That's not when his career began. That's 11 years after his career began. It's just when his Iron Man streak started. What he's done is nothing short of remarkable. An 11-year NHL career. My goodness, that's amazing. And then his streak began. He's absolutely unbelievable. Like to do that in the National Hockey League, contact sport. He's never even like caught a divot in the ice, never got like a puck in the face, like a errant high stick. Like just the sheer, there's so much luck involved in that. And I know he takes his ice baths and stuff, and the young players think it's weird, but like it's a miracle. Like I don't know if anyone's ever gonna break that.
That's what the Howe record looked like, though. And now we're sitting here and Marlow's about to beat it.
Took a long time to break it.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy about that, too, is that he played 400 games in the WHA as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Because he retired and then came out of retirement to go play 400 games in the WHL and then played the one final season in the NHL.
So he had over two... Here, wait. No, we're pulling this up. It's coming up right now. He played over 2,000 professional hockey games.
Yeah. If you want the number, you just need to add on 419. 6 seasons of the World Hockey Association for Houston and New England.
What the
I got it here.
Oh, this is mutant.
Yeah.
This is okay. Gordie Howe, 419 plus 1767. I don't like that number. That's 2,186 regular season games, plus 78 playoff games in the WHA, plus 157 NHL playoff games. This dude, not including preseason games, 2,421 professional hockey games. I know we just said about Patrick Marleau that's not getting touched. That is not getting touched.
I think it will. Ever. I think 100%.
You think somebody will play older
100%. How old is Tom Brady? I think he's probably the pinnacle of what you can do. And eventually, I think people are just going to get your fitness level is just going to keep increasing. Maybe in like 20 years, the next kid who comes along follows the TB12 method from birth.
Drinks there's 4 kinds of water and I'm drinking the correct kind.
Right. And he ends up playing
every strawberry on site.
He ends up playing the NHL. He plays for 30 seasons and he breaks the record. Who knows?
Maybe, but boy, that is crazy. And I hate that he's going to go through all of this. He's going to have that record. No cup.
Yeah. If he keeps signing in San Jose, there will be no cup.
It's killer. Dude, this guy, double-digit playoff games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times double-digit playoff games in a season. 195 career playoff games, 72 goals, 127 points. What can you do? What? Jeez. Like 24 playoff games that one year when San Jose went to the final. What can you do? That's torture. That's torture to any hockey nut who loves surf and hockey DB too much.
That's almost the same sort of torture that looking at Mike Modano's career all-time game. So 1,499. There we go with the Babcock references. But seriously, that is the worst one. Okay, I got a question. Other than that, what is the most cringeworthy hockey stat you've ever seen? What's the one that drives you like nails on a chalkboard crazy? And I'm sure if we had Jeff Merrick on, he would be a guy to ask. But we should even ask Sportsnet stats. Why not?
I do have one. I'm just waiting for it to load to confirm. And for some reason it crashed. There we go. Oh, never. I was wrong. I thought Paul Kariya was on 999 games. Mm-hmm. He's on 989. That's still, that's killer. He should have played more. I hate, not just that Babcock didn't give that courtesy to Mike Modano. Babcock forever stapled himself to Mike Modano's legacy. You can't talk about his career numbers without bringing him up. For this coach that he had for a season. Stapled to him forever. Hockey Hall of Fame player. Stapled to him forever. It's a disgrace. You know?
I don't disagree.
Comment, boys?
I don't disagree at all. I don't disagree. I mean, it's ridiculous. You could have started him. Even if you played him one shift, you could have played him.
Yes. Yeah, just like Chris Chelios. You could have played him one shift.
Did he do that?
He in the winter classic game
played him one shift. Yeah. Oh, right. That story. Oh my God.
Yeah. And
oh my God.
Then the assistant coach, whoever it was, asked if he wanted to kill a penalty later in the game. And Chelios was he's like, I've had a beer. No. He had a beer on the bench. He's like, I know I'm not getting in. Might as well have a beer. Enjoy the outdoor game for the best seat in the building.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I do have a question. Does Chris Chelios is an interesting guy. Like he's the one that wrote the Chris Chelios Made in America book, right? Like he's an interesting dude.
He's the Chris Cheliosist.
Is it good?
I don't know. I don't know. But I'm wondering, like Chris Chelios, whenever you hear him make headlines, it's always for somebody he doesn't like. Now, the Babcock thing I can understand because that's sort of shitty. But even I remember he was on, was it The Fan years ago or something like that, Steve? And he was talking about his book. And then I think they asked him about Brendan Shanahan because I think Brendan Shanahan had just taken over for the Leafs or had been within a year of that. So this was a while ago. And he's like, Brett, Shanny and I didn't really get along all that well. He's a little too political for me. As in, like, I guess he suggested that he was, there was diplomacy or he played the game politically more. So he didn't mean like, oh, he's too in my face because he's a Republican or a Democrat or something. It's more like along the lines of like he was political within the room.
So what I think that might be is Shanahan, wasn't it like the Shanahan Summit during the 2004-05 lockout about the rule changes? And remember the 05-06 season had a wild amount of penalties. Well, Shanahan was a big part of that. And I think it was a 31 Thoughts I was listening to recently, and they were talking about like Yzerman on the bench on the same team as Shanahan. There would be a penalty called against the Red Wings, and Yzerman would basically look over and go, "Good one, Shanny." Like it's his fault for helping to come up with the new rules.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of players held that against him. And maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. That could
be it. Wondered about that. Okay. Interesting. Who knows, right? Like, I don't know. I do want to ask too, even though he's not in the game as much anymore, remember what Jeremy Roenick said about Patrick Marleau? Do you remember all that stuff from his book?
Yeah.
That's another guy where I'm like, man, you don't make news. It's like Brett Hall, Chris Chelios, and Jeremy Roenick. Do you make news for saying anything good about anybody? Or can you make news for saying good?
Brett Hall said, "We went Blues." That was good.
Oh, boy,
"We went Blues" was legendary.
He had a good time at the parade. He had a really, really good time.
Just tuned.
Flowers are blooming, the grass is growing, and it's time to chop the weeds. Thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped, you can trim your holes safely and efficiently. I am talking about ball trimmers. Manscaped, the global leaders in men below the waist grooming, have an exclusive offer for our audience. Use the code SDP to get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Join the other 2 million men who trust Manscaped. They are here to make sure that you are trimmed and smelling nice. After all, it's time for that spring cleaning. Now, Manscaped, as you know, global leaders in below the waist grooming. And we're talking about things like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. Very important if you're someone like me and you run hot and it's getting into the hot season. And as you know, things can happen. They get stuck places you don't want them to get stuck is what I'm trying to say. The Crop Preserver preserves the crop. You'll also like the Crop Reviver. It's a toner for that area, which will keep you smelling fresh, just like spring flowers. Now, we want you to smell good this spring. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SDP at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor. Use the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SDP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SDP at manscaped.com. It's spring cleaning, baby, and your balls will thank you.
Absolutely tuned.
I would like to talk about Mike Modano's former franchise, the Dallas Stars. Ladies and gentlemen, don't look now, but the Dallas Stars are 3 points out of the playoffs with 3 games in hand on who? The Nashville Predators.
Oh. Nice. It's weird. I thought you were going to say someone different.
Nope. It's the Nashville Predators. Now, everybody laughed at me like, oh, Dallas, you can't. Well, looks like they can. 43 games, 46 points. Chicago's got 47 and 45. Nashville, 49 and 46. I say they do it.
It's going to be tough.
They do it, boys.
They got bit by the injury bug, but it looks like they're fighting their way through it.
COVID bug.
Well, no, Radulov's hurt.
Radulov's out for the year, I believe.
Yeah, they did get bit by that other bug at the beginning of the season. A lot of bugs.
I'm just saying, believe in the Dallas Stars, everybody. This is a team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals for a reason. I think they're going to be pretty good, and I think they're good. They're doing really, really well.
And they got Detroit coming up for 4 games in a row or something, so they got a chance to make up some ground.
Win. You want to talk about should win games?
Detroit
should win.
randomly murdered Tampa once or twice.
That's weird, right?
Dude, Detroit might catch the Blue Jackets. Like, it's wild to me that Detroit might not even be the worst team in their division. They're 1 point behind the Blue Jackets.
It's all falling apart. It's all falling apart in Columbus, isn't it?
What happened?
Yeah. Like Steve, you're absolutely right about Torts. Eh? He's got this thing, and then one day it expires, and the team sucks now. And it happened in Tampa. Yep. It never got going in Vancouver. It happened in New York too. He's
the avocado of coaches. It's you got to wait for it to ripen. It's bad now.
So obviously Patrick Laine has had a lot of struggle since going there because they see him as a power forward instead of a gifted once in a generation goal scorer, which is what he actually is. And Max Domi, who obviously had his run in with Connor Murphy, which was what a bizarre incident that was. Like, it seemed like a really overreaction to a relatively minor play. Like, I can understand why he'd be ticked about it, but to dummy Connor Murphy like that was way outside the bounds.
They're mad. They're an angry team.
Well, now Max is not going to play tonight.
And he had a horrible game the other night. He was like a -4, took penalties.
He's getting benched. So
the fight seemed to me like, and Domi does have the power to do this. He's an offensive player, and when he's not producing, he'll just beat you up. Mm-hmm. He'll beat you up with hits, or he'll drop his gloves and punch you, whether you like it or not, even if you have your gloves on. So, and I guess it's just gotten worse since that incident.
Well, I have a question about all this, guys. So first off, your big leader, Foligno's gone, right? Heart and soul guy, Columbus Blue Jacket guy, is now not there. Number two, what's a coach's job? Define a coach's job.
Make his team as good as it possibly can be.
Get the most out of your star players would be part of that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm not saying Max Domi is a superstar in the league, but the guy had 72 points once.
Yeah, I mean, he should be at least like a 40-point pace guy at
minimum.
Least. Yeah.
So when you might look at Max Domi and go, well, he's underperforming. But when I look at the way Patrick Laine's not performed, I start to think, a guy who can get 30 goals in his sleep like Patrick Laine can seems a bit odd what's happening.
I wasn't able to do it with Dubois, and I'm struggling to do it with Laine, and I can't do it with Domi. Jack Roslovic looks amazing right now. All right. I'm 1 for 4, boys. 1 for 4. Like, they need to be rid of John Tortorella, I think. And nothing against him as a coach. This is the trend. This will die for you. We'll die for you. We'll die for you. I'm sick of you. Get out of my face. Like, you got to look at the last season for every team he's ever played with. I'd also like to see this because, Brian Burke was talking about, Ron Hextall, and, you can judge a GM based on how they left the team that they're now gone from. I would love to know what, like, the Lightning and the Rangers and the Canucks and soon to be the Blue Jackets. Like, I want to know what their record the season after John Tortorella was.
Canucks were better. I remember that.
They were better, but they're often completely left in shambles. And you can interpret that as, well, they were better with John Tortorella, or you can look at it as he poisoned the room, which it sure looks like he's doing in Columbus.
Well, because, they brought him in and he's like, okay, Sedins, you're blocking shots at 37.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'm going to go beat up Calgary's head coach. And apparently Torts is a good guy, apparently, but there are some things where it's like, I wouldn't doubt that he's a good person. It's just, and it's not a reflection on his character. This style does have an expiration date, and it seems like it's like milk, right? Or like an avocado, but it's not that, like, an avocado, an overripe avocado is not going to kill you. Milk is going to give you some serious indigestion past a certain day, right? And that's what it seems is happening.
I think someone was talking about like 50 Cent or whatever, like at the height of his popularity. And they were just like, man, you're hard all the time. Like, what? How are you hard at breakfast? Like, like you're having your bowl of cereal and you're just like, someone try me right now. I'm having Cheerios. And like, it's, man, I think players can do a season or two of that. Just that intensity. Oh boy, that's too much for 4 or 5 years. I don't do what I did off the top of this show forever. Not
Steve,
forever.
Steve, I'm just a fan all the time. I care all the time.
Steve, you want John Tortorella's numbers after he left a team.
Interesting. Yes, I'm very interested.
So this is what you're asking for. So you said in the 07-08 season, Tortorella was fired after that from Tampa Bay. So in the 08-09 season, Tampa finished 14th in the conference.
Ooh, out of 15, I guess.
Yeah, so the season after he left, they were worse. Then he was hired by New York. His last season in New York, he was fired after 48 games. He lost in the conference semifinals to Boston. So that was the half season. So he's fired by New York, hired by Vancouver. So how did New York do in the 13-14 season? They finished 5th in the conference. So he got fired when they were a good team, and they kind of stayed the same.
Good. Yeah,
and then the other time he was fired, Vancouver, he was with them the 13-14 season. So how did Vancouver do in 14-15?
I think they made the playoffs.
That was Willie Desjardins.
Yeah. In 15-14, Vancouver finished 2nd in the Pacific. There you go.
That was the series against Calgary, wasn't it?
I don't have their playoff record.
In the staging goal? I think it was.
They finished 5th in the conference. So
wait, no. 14-15 was the first year of the Rogers deal, and none of the Canadian teams made the playoffs.
Right.
I think I'm thinking of the next year.
No, they made the playoffs that year.
In 14-15?
In 14-15, yeah. They finished 5th in the conference.
What am I thinking of then? Oh. All right.
All right, well.
So there you go. I don't know if you pulled anything from that, but that's his
just
numbers
seems
after leaving a team.
It seems like there is, it's a mess. It's a total mess. And if the Blue Jackets don't, like, here's the thing. You got Domi for 2 more years. You got Line A for 0 more years, unless you're able to re-sign him. And I mean, yeah, you could re-sign him, and you can re-sign him. What's that number going to be? And then what do you do?
Well, here's the problem with Domi for 2 more years is Dubois set the precedent with that team that if I'm sick of this team, you have me for none more years. I don't care what you're paying me. You have me for none more years. And it's not like Max Domi needs the money. It's Ty Domi's son. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be pulling that card. If you're the Columbus Blue Jackets, don't be pulling that. It's not going to go good for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be very interesting to watch. I was kind of surprised to see that. Like, also, like, okay, so the season's bad, and I know that Max wasn't great in the last couple of games, and he's lost his temper both times, and Torts wants to sit him or whatever. But
what are you looking for?
I'm trying to figure out, like, how many benchings do we see in an NHL season that are not a John Tortorella team?
Like noteworthy. Like Marner.
Yeah.
Like imagine the Leafs benched Marner.
Like you bench a player that's significant to your chances of winning.
Yeah. Nylander.
How many teams do that other than whatever John Tortorella is coaching?
Yeah. Nylander's been benched mid-game a few times over his Leafs tenures. I can't think of him ever being healthy scratched.
No.
Maybe when he was a rookie. Maybe.
I'm just, at a certain point, I mean, Torts has had success and I get it. But at what point is this not working anymore? Like this whole strategy, like why shoot yourself in the foot?
They can't afford to pay him not to be their coach. You know what I mean? They can't afford to fire him, pay him, and then pay his replacement. And they're tanking. Like, let's be honest here. They're not trying to be good by trading Nick Foligno and David Savard, right?
Right.
So they're trying to do the thing properly. Yeah. And if you're not honest to God trying to win games, you might as well try to get a message across, I guess, which I suppose is what he's trying to do with Max Domi.
I will forever link David Savard to trade rumors involving Mitch Marner.
Oh, man.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
people were like, that's a fair trade, Savard for Marner.
And Noah Hannafin.
Noah Hannafin. Ooh.
Could have had a fin. That was a Kipper special. He got a lot of shit for that. Didn't go.
Apparently, that's who Babcock wanted on the draft floor, didn't he?
No, that was Zach Werenski.
Oh, Zach Werenski. Okay, well, Werenski's pretty good.
Or was it Hannafin? Maybe it was one of Hannafin or Werenski. I think both were available.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. Wow.
Yeah, Hannafin went one spot after Marner, did he not?
Yes, he did, I think.
It's a great draft.
It was. Yeah, you compare that to the 2012 draft where it's like, ooh, stinker. And then that draft was
David, Eichel. I don't remember who. Oh, that was Dylan Strome, who has turned out very good, but he's not better than Mitch Marner.
Mm-hmm.
Noah Hannafin. Yeah, hell of it.
Lawson Krause, I think, was after that, wasn't he? Number 6.
McDavid, Eichel, Strome, Marner, Hannafin, Zaka, Ivan Provorov. Then Zach Werenski at 8, Timo Meyer at 9. That's a good pick, too.
Good pick.
Mikko Rantanen at 10, Lawson Krause at 11. Incredible. Yeah, those are just a bunch of killers, 1 through 11.
Rantanen at 10.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man, Colorado. Hats off to Colorado.
They're maybe more Lightning than the Lightning, and the difference is goaltending. Philip Grubauer is not Andre Vasilevsky, but they might, honest to God, have a better 4 lines, 3D pairs than the Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, the addition of David Savard, though. It's I as a hockey fan, if it cannot be the Leafs, I would love to see those two go toe to toe. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Who? Colorado, Tampa.
Oh, that'd be pretty good.
Colorado. I had Colorado, Carolina making the Cup final last year, but this was at the beginning of the season, like long before the Panini and everything. And honestly, Grubauer is healthy. One of Grubauer or Pavel Francouz, one of those guys is healthy. They beat Dallas. God bless Dallas and everything they did in the bubble. One of those guys is healthy. You don't have a chance. Oh, well.
Well, Nathan McKinnon can't play goalie, too.
I don't know, guys.
He tried.
Michael Hutchison did his job. It was on the rest.
He did win.
He had a winning record.
Have a win.
He had a winning record in the bubble.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
2-1.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for?
And the Leafs were like, we need you back. It's like Martin Marincin. Martin, we can't let you go.
Yeah, no,
great.
My God. Well, you see, they won the Kadri trade because they got Rosen back and Hutchinson. And where's Kadri now?
And they ended up signing TJ Brody, so that's a win, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's how that happens.
Take that, Nas.
Did the Leafs lose the Kadri deal?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know what? I will maintain that they did need to trade him. And if they had made the first trade to Calgary, it would have been the right trade.
So, did Dubas lose it, or did Nazem exercise his right within his contract to screw over the Leafs?
Dubas lost it.
Lost it.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
There were better options out there.
Yeah. Contractually, they also didn't have to trade him. I know exactly what I said at the time, but I don't run the team. Contractually, they didn't have to do it.
It's true. Yeah.
I honestly think, though, if you had kept him around at that, I do wonder, like, if you didn't learn the first 2 times, I think he's learned because he got traded from his favorite team, and he's not going to pull that shit in Colorado. Colorado, the perfect spot. Like, how great is that? And they got a guy who was probably humbled by the experience. And by the way, I'm a huge Nazem Kadri fan. I think he's a great guy.
I think we all are.
So every Leaf fan is.
Yeah. 100%. And he caught a lot of shit while he was here, but man, he was awesome. And I do think, though, that Colorado was in a perfect position to inherit a guy who was about to learn a lesson, who was that one lesson away from being the best possible NHL pro he could be. And the only way he was going to learn that lesson is if he was not a Leaf the next year.
He already has more playoff points as an Av, I'm pretty sure, than he did as a Leaf. And I think he also set a record for the latest game winner.
Really?
Colorado history. It was during the round robin because they were one of the top 4 teams. And they scored a game winner against the Blues with, I think it was 0.2 seconds left. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
And it was Nas, because of course it was.
Wow.
Yeah. During a NHL playoff game. It was not a Stanley Cup playoff game. NHL playoff game. Remember that whole fiasco?
Yes.
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 My God, that's pretty cool. Well, good for Nas. Wish him nothing but the best. Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts of being a kid. But, we had to give it up because we realized it was full of sugar and junk that you really shouldn't eat. Been trying to cut down on my carbs, sugar, unhealthy food. I can't eat all that stuff anymore. But with the new year and summer upon us, we're trying to eat a little bit better. Healthy breakfast doesn't have to be boring. And that's why you should check out Magic Spoon. It's got all the amazing flavors you love without all the bad stuff. We're talking about 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs for each serving. Only 140 calories per serving. It's keto friendly. It's gluten free. It's grain free. It's soy free. It's low carb, and it's GMO free. Variety packs include 4 flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. How do you not love that? Come on. So check out magicspoon.com/SDP to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code SDP at checkout to save $5 off your first order. And Magic Spoon is confident in their product. So confident, in fact, it's backed by the 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember, you get your delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/SDP and use the promo code SDP to save $5 off. Thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this episode. With a bit of a weird race happening right now in the West Division. Nobody's really mentioning it too much outside of their home markets, but Arizona and St. Louis being locked in at 44 and 45 points, a couple games in hand for St. Louis there. But can you imagine a world where St. Louis doesn't make the playoffs and the Coyotes do?
Even the Sharks are in there.
Oh, they are. They're 5 points out.
It's not nearly as likely, but yeah, St. Louis 3-6-1 in their last 10. They do not look good. I'm trying to think of who they're missing. I mean, other than Alex Pietrangelo, of course. I guess if you lose your captain, it's kind of a big deal, eh?
Yeah, they're also missing. O'Reilly, though. They're missing Jordan Binnington from the 2 seasons ago.
Yeah,
I was about to say, they have him. Oh, yeah. Same guy but different guy.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder about that. And again, I'll go back to they really did, after they were eliminated by the Canucks, just sort of slip it in there like, oh yeah, guys aren't feeling 100% from COVID. Blah, blah, blah. Pardon?
Can we stop like, what do they say? 20% of the team?
Yeah,
something like that. That's more a lot than one. That's what?
Well, and I'm looking at too. A couple of the other races are starting to get a little bit interesting here. Now, the Rangers have played 2 more games than Boston, so keep that in perspective. And Taylor Hall looks outstanding on the Bruins.
Just because, awesome. Of course,
he's been incredible. But the New York Rangers, I get that they've played 2 more games in Boston, are still only 4 points behind them. And they've both gone 4-1 in their last 5 games. The Rangers lost in overtime last night. Their last game. That's a team like, okay, imagine for a minute, it won't happen, but imagine for a minute, Boston trades for Taylor Hall and then doesn't make it.
Right.
It's possible.
It's the Matt Duchene conversation all over again. Does this guy even make your team better? Right?
Yes,
remember all that?
Clearly he does, though.
I know. Yes. But this is an actual race, right? So we talked about the Blues and the Coyotes. Both are sub 500 their last 10. Blues are 3-6-1. Coyotes are 4-6-0. So that is not a race.
Nobody wants it.
You take it. With Boston and New York, that is a race.
All right.
Both won 4 straight. 7-2-1 for Boston. 7-1-2 for the Rangers.
And
1 point.
If anybody gets screwed this year, it's one of those 2 teams, because either of those teams make the playoffs in any other division in the league. All 3 of the other ones, they're in a playoff spot.
The Rangers are 14th in the NHL right now.
That's crazy.
If you do points percentage, also 14th.
If that's the case, then the Rangers should be in the playoffs. Like I don't understand why we do this. Why do we do this?
Well, this year you can't, because
I know.
The Canadian teams can't leave Canada. So
why is it though that I'm fine with more divisional games or whatever you want to do, but why can't just the best 16 teams make it? Why?
Well, this year because of borders, but in other years, Adam, I don't think you're totally off there, man.
If this was last season, they would be in a playoff spot though. because it would have been the top 3 slots in each division plus the 2 wild cards, and they would have had one of those.
So what I would ask the NHL is the Mass Mutual East Division. Let me get that sponsorship in there. Washington, Islanders, Pittsburgh, Boston, New York, Philly, New Jersey, Buffalo. Those are some of your best TV revenue markets in the United States. That Northeast that's like a murderer's row of good ratings for the NHL. Outside of, I think, the ratings in like Tampa and Chicago, you can't get better than that. And when I look at that, I go, is the NHL going to be happy with itself when the Rangers miss the playoffs again? And you say, well, it's just a couple of seasons or whatever. This is a time when New York, who is the number 1 most valuable franchise in the sport, the Rangers are. They're no question. They're like $300 or $400 million up on the Leafs. The idea that the Rangers are good enough to make it and do not is ridiculous to me. And I also think, and maybe this goes back to just kind of personal bias about this sort of thing, but why is it that we need to draw teams, X amount of teams from every division this year? Sure, you're only playing those same few teams over and over and over again. It's COVID. It is what it is. But why can't even then the best teams just make it?
Because you're going to argue, if you're one of the teams who gets pushed out, you're going to argue, well, they were playing against the Flyers and to a much higher extent, the Devils and the Sabres.
Yeah,
that's fair. But every division's got that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this year you got to play against your own division exclusively. Like you don't play, so you got to rank the playoffs based on your division because that's the only teams you played, right?
Yeah. I just think for competition reasons, why do we worry about geography? Let's worry about the best teams and the biggest stars getting in. That's what I'm worried about. And so in the future, why if it's 10 Western teams and 6 Eastern teams, okay, then that's what it is. Put the best teams in, because usually the best teams have the best players.
I think we all looked at the Eastern Division at the beginning of the season and went, oh, someone's getting screwed there. And lo and behold, someone is. But they're going to go back to the East-West as soon as humanly possible. And this was always a possibility. And I keep outside of the ridiculous Colby Cave Edmonton game that they should have never been forced to play. And who knows, maybe next week or in a few days, we'll be saying that about the Canucks as well. But outside of that, the NHL schedule, the fact that they've even gotten this far, like, I'm not going to be too picky. I think they always knew it was going to be a possibility, and it's so tough.
You're right.
But is your argument for whenever the world's back to normal, you would drop divisions?
I would. Well, I don't mind even having divisions and scheduling teams more against, in a local calendar so that, you play the same teams more often. I understand what the NHL tries to do with the rivalries, et cetera, et cetera. But I always felt like if you really want to do this, why not just put the best teams in?
Why not?
I just don't see how there's always, it's funny. We look at it each year and it's either the West or it's the East. For a long time, it was the West. They were just murderers, dominant, like all the California teams. St. Louis is always in there. Then Vegas shows up and's like, we're going to make the conference finals for a couple of years, and we're going to kick in a lot of ass for no reason. The Canucks won how many President's trophies? Like, it was that the Western Conference was pretty scary for about 10 years, and Chicago too, and LA. And then, it's kind of shifted to the East a little bit lately. With Boston and Tampa and Toronto and, Pittsburgh being as good as they've been for a long time. And now you've got, Carolina's playing to its potential, and Florida surprised everybody. I just feel like there are teams sometimes that will make it in like 14 or 15 spots. Sorry, like eighth in the spot in one division or one conference that wouldn't have a hope in hell in the other. And that to me seems odd.
But are we having this conversation? We didn't say this about Arizona. We weren't like, the Coyotes are getting screwed. You know what I mean?
It's just, they're not a great team. If they were, we'd be having that conversation.
But they're in the 5 slot.
Well, they're in the 4.
5 slot.
They're in the 4.
Oh, are they? Never mind. We're not having this conversation about the Blues. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, but they're not getting screwed because they have 44 points and the fifth seed in the Central is Chicago, and they have like 47.
You remember when it was like the Leafs have this many more points than the guys in the whatever the division lineup was last year. I can't even remember what the old divisions were called. The Leafs have 10 more points than team number 2 in that division, but they're third place in their division.
It was brutal.
So they're fucked.
All right.
You know, like that to me, there's got to be a better way to do this, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying I've got all the answers on it, but there's got to be a better way.
I think you're right. And sorry, just because I've been dicking around on the standings page on NHL.com, Nazem Kadri's Colorado Avalanche. First in points with 64. First in points percentage, 744. Stupid. And first in goal differential, plus 53. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Steve, if there's one, we should one day do a top cold take Hall of Fame for all of us. But if there's a cold take that I think that we need to apologize forever and ever and ever about, it's what the hell is Joe Sakic and Jared Bednar, and what are the Avs even doing?
Horrible.
Was that bad?
It's one of the worst takes I've ever had.
Me too.
Like, oh my God. And they have not been bad since.
Nope.
They had one legendarily shit season. Awesome ever since. Hey, here's fun. Who has the worst goal differential in the NHL?
I'm going to say Columbus.
That was going to be my guess. I'll guess somebody else. Oh, it's not Columbus. Okay.
It's not Columbus.
It's not going to be Detroit.
Columbus is 6th from last.
Ooh, who is last in the West right now?
Detroit is 4th from last. Who's last in the West?
Yeah.
The West Division is the Anaheim Ducks.
I'm going to go with them.
You are correct.
Hey.
Anaheim Ducks minus 44 to the Sabres minus 43. It's a tight race for goal differential. Columbus is minus 40. New Jersey's minus 41. Detroit and Ottawa are minus 42. Buffalo is minus 43. And Anaheim, who has been underratedly ass, minus 44. They're
knowing the Ducks, though, and how they operate, they're going to draft 4 Norris and 1 Vezina candidate this offseason.
And be fine.
Yeah. They draft great defensemen and great goalies. That's all they do. They're a farm.
Well, and they intentionally have Trevor Zegras in the minors, and Drysdale's a rookie. Yeah. No, I buy that, Adam. I'm buying what you're saying.
They're just really good at that.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they are definitely.
They traded to the Leafs, right?
Yeah. Yes. They're taking some time off from being good, but I think they'll be back.
Nick Kyprios put it out on his show, Line Movement. Friend of the show, Nick Kyprios. Do you think the Leafs have a goaltending controversy, guys?
What, Riddick over Jack?
No, Freddie over Jack and David.
No.
Would you call it a controversy is my question.
I would have before the last 4 games. And the last 5 games. Because in his game, in his record-breaking 11th win,
he wasn't great.
He was bad is another word. Mm-hmm. So it's about 5 straight. And listen, Freddie, do we think Freddie was garbage or injured?
Injured.
That's what I think about Jack.
He's injured.
Riddick needs to play. What did you get him for?
Yeah, you didn't get him for the playoffs.
Riddick should play the next 3. Make sure they're healthy. It's
not a controversy.
A third is a lot.
It's not a controversy if one guy, if he was healthy, he would be starting. You know, I can't call it a controversy when if Anderson comes back and they're like, he's 100%, then he's going in, he's going to start, and then we're going to see what we got.
So is the controversy then that Sheldon keeps starting Jack Campbell, although he's not either played well or hurt or both? Is that the controversy?
I think we're overestimating how much the coach knows. The coach, I mean, Babcock was always prickly about this, not to compare the two, but hey, is so-and-so going tonight? And he's like, I'm sure they'll tell me. Because he is like, here is who it is. This is my lineup. And then they tell me whether or not, yes, that's good to go, or no, that guy can't play. So I think Sheldon's got in his head, Freddie is 1, Jack is 2, Riddick is 3. I am playing 2. Two's hurt. 3. You know what I mean? But they're not telling him Two's hurt. And Jack has, we already know he's played through injury this year. And he looks tiny. He looks tiny in his net. I've never noticed him looking tiny in his net.
That Horvat goal, the
Which
Bow
one?
goal wasn't good. The one that snuck under his arm.
Was that the first one?
I think it was the second one.
Oh, this is the only game all year I haven't watched the replay. I don't want to.
Wow, you were really stung by that.
Oh,
damn.
Adam, it was written in the stars in the sky that they were losing that game. So maybe I shouldn't be upset because I knew the whole time.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did Mrs. Dangle watch with you last night?
She watched, but not. I think she only watched up until it was 2-0. And then she very wisely said, I'm going to go upstairs and watch some British show.
Okay.
And then she did.
You guys have BritBox or something like that where you can watch all the British shows?
The Midwife. No,
okay.
Adam, she watches everything legally.
Okay. That's BritBox.
We've never watched a show from Europe illegally ever.
The reason I ask is I would love to know how she would describe your reaction to last night's loss. Like when you come up to bed after that, I mean, I guess it's been a while. Like do you go down? Sometimes you record right away, but did you today? Did you go and do your,
No.
So you went to bed.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Do you say anything or do you just go to sleep?
I was just like, the Leafs lost. They lost. They actually lost. And
Did she give you a hug or?
She just gives me like a pat on the shoulder and goes right back to the midwife.
Adam, how did you react after the Leafs lost?
I went to bed.
As someone who doesn't care as much about the game, how did you react?
I mean, it was sort of like, you know what I did? I groaned a little bit, and I'll tell you why. It had nothing to do with the Leafs. It had everything to do with the hot takes. And listen, I'm guilty of my hot takes too, but I'm like, oh man, here they come. And the first thing I saw this morning was the Keith Olbermann tweet saying, if you think the Leafs have the, intestinal fortitude to win the cup, blah, 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 blah. And everything he said about the Canucks was true. It was an emotional win. They do deserve all the credit in the entire world. That was fucking awesome. Good for them. But at the same time, it's like sometimes a team can have an emotional win and the other team walks away completely unscathed like it's another day. And I think that's what it was. It doesn't have to. Everybody acts like everything is a movie all the time. It's okay to imagine a scenario where one team is not as emotionally affected by a game as the other, right?
I mean, the Leafs are clearly emotionally affected by their power play.
That is a problem. I mean,
that's a serious problem.
It's crept into the rest of their game. And so Matthews scores last night. It's at the end of the 5-minute power play.
13 seconds left.
Right. And I think they're 2 for 46 now.
Mm-hmm.
Or 47 or 45. It's mid 40s. And so he has both of those two. Both are Matthews. One was a power play goal on a power play where they had already surrendered a shorthanded goal. And another was at the tail end of a 5-minute power play. They haven't just scored a power play goal and that's it. Well, for over a month, I think.
In the midst of that, though, there are things like the Spezza play where he's literally standing in front of an open net and he hits the post. Like you got bad luck. It's a game.
Actually, the power play did look okay.
Yeah, like he scored there. It's a puck and it didn't go in the net.
Are the advanced, and I don't know the answer to this, are the advanced metrics on the Leafs power play positive? Meaning, okay, the goals aren't there, but are the metrics positive?
I doubt it.
No, that's
okay. What
I read. It was like last time I saw it advanced. It was that they're not that great.
Okay.
And despite the fact that I've gotten all worked up, because I'm sure people were yelling, like they did win. Well, no, they didn't. But a lot of people are upset that I think it was with 30 seconds left, that goal didn't count that they reviewed. There's no conclusive evidence. Like I don't know what to tell you there. Oh, yeah. I do have one little hot take, and I would like to get your opinion on this.
Let's hear it.
Holtby did that little scoot. Everyone knows the scoot, the goalie scoot, when the puck is very obviously in the net, but the goalie drags their pads out to drag the puck out.
Yeah. If you can't see the puck, then it's not a goal.
Right. But no one gets up like that ever. There's no reason to get up like that unless you're hiding the fact that a goal was scored. And I think the rule should stay as it is. If you cannot see the puck, it should be you need conclusive evidence. But if the goalie does the scoot, I think during the review, you should be able to go, okay, we can't see the puck, so it's not a goal. He did the scoot, 2-minute minor. Delay of game. You delayed the game.
That's interesting.
You made it harder to do our job. Delay a game. And that goes for Leaf goal. If Jack Campbell does it, if Freddie Anderson does it, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Well, so we agree it's cheating then. It is. It is. The scoot is. There's no reason to get up that way.
Can I provide a simpler solution?
Sure. Award a goal.
The technology exists where you can track the puck and you can track as to whether it crosses the line or not. They do it in real time in tennis with a much faster ball. It is possible if you just invested in the cameras and the little chip thingy. If you just did that one time in one off season for every arena, this whole thing could be solved, and a little light can go off and tell you if a puck crosses that goal line while the play is not whistled dead. Like, you can do that,
right? But have you seen like the emails back and forth, like head of officiating and everything, and the makeup call controversy? Like, everything that we know about the NHL's interpretation of their own rules suggests they're aloof, and I don't think they care enough to do what you're saying.
Yeah, because they're have no interest in just getting it right.
Are we going to spend this much money on, I don't know, 10 goals a season? No, we're not. We're the NHL.
Yeah, which is why when every time someone tells me it's about getting the call right, no, it's not.
It's not. It's entirely not.
It's about getting off air on time.
No, you wouldn't have makeup calls, like all that whole controversy. You wouldn't have those things if about getting it right. This is about something else.
And if they could do a better job of promoting their sport, they could be like baseball, which will have 6-hour games every once in a while because it goes 20 innings. They're not worried about getting off the air on time. They're like, fuck you, we're baseball. If the NHL said, listen, guys, we promoted this game extremely well, and it's going to outrate anything else that's on TV currently, like baseball and football, although baseball's numbers are falling a little bit. If that were the case, then it wouldn't matter. And you could do 3-on-3 overtime until literally the legs fell off. Until finally somebody scores.
Baseball did this year try and curve the long game things by starting a runner on second base. If you get to the 11th inning, now you get an automatic runner on second. Yeah. And also, any double header games are now 7 innings. So they are trying to cut down on game time, but they're still ridiculously long.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'd love to see another Boston, and I never watch Boston and New York games. They're so slow. I can't do it. I can't fucking do it. Like, I do love baseball, and I like it because I can get chores done and stuff while I'm watching it. But man, Boston and New York games are so painful. It's like, if we take longer with this, we're going to bore the other team into submission.
Yeah, it's a strategy. They're intentionally slowing down the baseball game.
When you were a shortstop, Jesse,
okay.
Did that ever happen
20 years ago?
When you were in AAA baseball, though, AAA
20 years ago.
Okay. Did you ever run into a team that was like, we're gonna fucking put these guys to sleep?
No, when you're 14 and playing AAA, you're not thinking that. Not at all.
I think one of my favorite stories you've ever told is you briefly mentioned it, so it's not really a story, but you were like, man, when you quit, you're like, my parents were just so sick and tired of going to baseball games.
Yeah, I felt bad. Like, looking back now, I felt bad for my family because we traveled literally from like when school closes through September all over Ontario playing baseball. Like, we go to Aurelia, Sault Ste. Marie, like Kingston, just wherever there was a tournament because it's rep ball, and you gotta go play the best teams in Ontario. So every weekend we're going somewhere and just playing fucking baseball. I loved it, obviously.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, looking back, now you get perspective as an adult, and you're like, shit, my parents just drove for hours in a car to go watch these teenagers play baseball.
And drag your sister along with him.
Yeah, my sister had to sit there on the, those fold out chairs. You got the parent section, like that's the whole audience.
Game Boy's dead by the third inning.
Yeah. It's funny with that because I think there are parents that like to hold that in perspective. Your kid is going to be an elite player for only so long. If your kid's good enough to be an elite player, you got to look at it like, okay, maybe 5-6 years max, but most of the time it's like a year or two where the travel gets crazy. And either the kid gives up, you give up, or they're too old and it's over. And I feel like if Everly's ever that good at anything, like AAA good at anything, it could be art, it could be dance, it could be drama, it could be anything, whatever, sports, whatever she wants. I feel like as a parent, being on the other side of it now, I understand why parents get upset and it's a lot, but also that's your kid and you only get that for so long.
Yeah.
Right. It will end at a certain point.
Every Saturday, like I'd have practice. I'd baseball practice like I think it was Wednesday, Saturday. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. We would practice 3 days a week. And so like that, I think that was at the
and then a game.
Yeah, and then we played games in between that. It was ridiculous. But like every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. or whatever, you head down to Tom Chater and you go Tom Chater Park in Clarkson. I still remember the name. And you go practice and they hit ground balls with the fungo, with the pop flies with the fungo or ground balls or whatever. And you just practice and it's a bunch of teenagers, you know?
My parents were smart about it. They just started doing chores. Like I was never good. Right. So they would just be like, oh, we're going to drop you off for practice and we'll see you. We're going to go grocery shop or something like that. It's like, I'm not watching your fucking practice.
But like you guys have kids and like if it's Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and your kids like, I'm really, my favorite thing in the world is to do this sport or this activity. You're going to go take them to swimming or dance class or baseball or hockey or whatever it is. Right.
Absolutely.
Because it's only request.
You only get it so long. And then it's gone. And I'm sure if you were to ask your dad, Jesse, he would, for one day, love to go back and see you play baseball one more time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he'd take that.
He came out to, when we had the Easter seals, he came out to that and he watched in the corner.
And so did Steve's parents. And where are my parents? Nowhere to be found.
Doing chores.
They don't care.
But like, Steve, your parents must have said the same thing. Like watching your kid do something is this other experience.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did. There were a few times where like my soccer team was real bad. And they were like, we lost every game like 12-0. And they were like, okay, this is pointless. Like, are you having fun? I'm like, not really. Like, I'm enjoying the exercise. And then next year we'd like win the championship. Like it's
the nature of
there's no regulation.
Can I do a prediction for you two?
Love it.
When your kid is playing a sport, whether it's high school, whether it's whatever it is, if they're into that.
And I'm making videos about Leo's team, just roasting them.
Where
were you?
When you're on the sideline for those games, that is going to be the height of your passion for sports. Like I totally guarantee you're going to care more about that 14-year-old soccer game than you have about any other Leaf game in your entire life. That's going to be the most fandom you ever have because that's your kid out there and you're going to be screaming and you're going to feel it.
So I won when we were in grade 9, my house league team won the championship and I was the captain and we won it in overtime. And I remember I remember it because the puck came out to me at the blue line and I took a shot and then his name was Piyush Sharma. I'll remember his name forever because we played on a couple teams together and he tipped the puck in and I'll never forget that going in. But my parents cried. It was house league, but they were like, it's magic. You imagine your kid winning a championship in overtime. Like it's an emotional game. I'd never won anything before. It was like, it was a big deal. And I think you're absolutely right, Jesse. You're never going to care more, I think, than about that. And I know a lot of parents are probably listening to this going, yeah, well, wait till you guys have to drive around to Sault Ste. Marie every weekend. And you're right. You're absolutely right. But it's such a small amount of time in your life that, those memories, I mean, I just look at how quickly Everly is going to be 2 years old in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And you know what I mean? Like it's like, where the hell did the time go? This kid is walking and talking. And like the other day I was like, hey, do you need some water? And she's like, yeah. You know, we just communicate now.
Oh God.
She's like, yeah, like we just talk. And like when I leave, when I go over and say pick her up from her grandparents or something like that, you know, my mom's, she runs to the door and screams, "Daddy." You know, like that's emotional shit. And you know, when she's a teenager, she's not going to give a shit what I'm up to. But you know, it's just these moments, as exhausting as they are, even the first 6 months of having a kid, which objectively kind of sucks. If we're all involved, it's terrible. It goes so fast. It's gone. And it's like, you know, it's such a short period. So I would say, Jesse, I'm sure your parents were exhausted by the end of it, but I also would say, hey, if we could see one more game, I would love to see one more. You know what I mean? And they must have been so proud of you. You were the hardest position in the entire sport, and you're playing in AAA. That's amazing.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Say shortstop is hard. You got to move. So anyway, that's my rant. Let's do a press conference, shall we?
Let's do it.
Look, no one's perfect. Even the best baseball players strike out. Occasionally, hockey players miss the net, and the best golfers sometimes three-putt with the tournament on the line. So if you feel like you've come up short in the bedroom, that's perfectly okay. If it's bothering you, there are options. Go to GetRoman.com/STP now. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED from the comfort and privacy of your home. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you on the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward and discreet. Getting started is simple. Just go to GetRoman.com/STP and complete an online visit. Take care of your ED without even leaving your home. Complete an online visit today to connect with a doctor and take care of it. Go to GetRoman.com/STP right now to get $15 off your first month. Look, there's a straightforward way to take care of your ED. GetRoman.com/STP. Get started now to save $15 on your first month of treatment.
So a few people tweeted this at us. They want us to mention or talk about the Super League that 12 European soccer teams football teams are trying to form.
Footy.
So I'll give you guys a little background on what's happening if you're not up to speed, and then just your thoughts on it. So last night, it broke that 12 football clubs are trying to form a Super League. So if you don't know how European soccer works or how soccer works in the rest of the world, there's a bunch of little different leagues, and then the champions of those leagues, they come together and they play in the Champions League. So these 12 teams, they come from the English Premier League, La Liga, and Serie A. So 3 of the top leagues in all of the world for football. 12 teams. They said they're going to form their own league. It's going to play during the week when the other leagues aren't on, and they're going to have their own competition. And it's 12 teams right now, but they're hoping to expand it to 20 teams eventually when the other big teams get permission to join. But some of the major teams around the world haven't agreed to this. They don't want to join, like PSG, or
Bayern Munich is not
Bayern Munich. Yeah, they're also not going to join because some of those other teams are on the side of UEFA and FIFA, who do not support this new Super League that these teams are trying to create. And they've threatened to ban any player from these teams who plays in the Super League from tournaments like the Champions League or even the World Cup. And then the Super League has come out and said that you can't do that under your own rules. And there's a whole legal doc about that as well.
So I know that JP Morgan is bankrolling this. So there's big money in it for the clubs. We're talking billions. But my question about it is just because I don't know. People are saying it's going to destroy football on more of like a local level. And there's 4 tiers of football in England alone, right? Whereas was Jamie Vardy a few years ago was playing, League 3 and, making $200 a week doing that. And then working at a factory, and he worked his way all the way up to, a championship team in the Premier League and is one of the top players in English football. But I'm wondering, what does that do to the smaller level teams? Does it take, gate away from them or sponsorship dollars away from them? What's the other than it's outside of UEFA and FIFA, who, by the way, have their own problems. we have we forgotten what happened with FIFA 2 years ago with Sepp Blatter and all that stuff that came out.
Mm-hmm. So, and even like the World Cup being hosted in Qatar is just giant human rights violations just steaming from that.
Why the leagues would be upset with this is pretty obvious, but fans are furious.
Why?
So that's what I'm trying to understand.
So if this Super League joins, they're worried about what it does to let's say the English Premier League, where you have this extra level of teams. Like you have bad teams that play in the EPL. You know, it'd be like if it'd be more like the AHL was an established team where it was an established league with all these other teams in them. And then you're taking the best teams and you're forming this NHL. So then the AHL teams, they're put off to the side and they're now these minor league teams, which they are in North America. But the EPL teams don't want to be relegated to this underclass, if that makes sense. So the other teams, so if you take the top teams away from the English Premier League, that diminishes the EPL, where these underclass teams play.
But you're not going to take unless UEFA and FIFA ban those clubs,
right?
Because of the Super League, you're probably not going to.
They're trying to. UEFA and FIFA are trying to ban all these teams from playing in the champion. Like Real Madrid's in the semifinals of the Champions League that's coming up in like 3 weeks or something. UEFA says we're gonna remove them from the semifinals. Like they're not allowed to play in there anymore. So if you're banning all these teams from these leagues, then what do these leagues become without these teams? Because they don't have these big organizations.
It sounds like someone's trying to split up a monopoly.
I must be ignorant to what's going on. This still sounds like UEFA's the bad guy.
So the argument on the other side is that they're trying to prevent these teams from building a monopoly. Because you have all these different leagues around Europe right now, and then the top ones are trying to get together and just build a monopoly where it's like only us good teams are playing in this one league. They're trying to stop it from being like, hey, no, we got to keep you guys spread out instead of just playing in the Super League.
But wouldn't new teams be able to make it into the Super League each year? Isn't there a bottom three, or is there, because there's 3 more clubs that need to be named?
Right. So they don't have.
It would just be static. It would just be those teams, and that would be the end of it.
So I saw Leeds in the Premiership today were wearing shirts in protest that said "Earn it." I think they were playing against Liverpool. So basically, earn your right to be in the Champions League instead of forming your own.
Okay. Well, Liverpool consistently does that.
Right, but like earn it, I guess is what they're trying to say. And like it can be, changing for a team that does happen to earn it, like Aberdeen, for example. We're the famous. Sorry. Because my wife's family is from there, and they like famously, I think, were in the Champions League one year, and I want to say won it. Mm-hmm. I think they beat Real Madrid, and they're like this little team. Right. And it's an amazing story. And then I guess you're taking away the possibility of that ever happening. There are no underdogs. I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about it to be proper angry. I guess I don't care.
I see. I do care. I'm very.
No, I care.
Like I want to know. I just want to know, because I've saw even like Rachel Dory and people that really know the game tweeting about it. There must be a reason to be outraged about this, other than the fact that to me it seems like
I should have called my father-in-law before.
It's like
he's
Thanos,
devastated.
It's like Thanos and the Joker going head to head. Like Thanos is UEFA and FIFA and has all the power, and the Joker is coming in to mess it all up. They both seem like bad guys.
Right. Do you want me to read you a little piece about why fans are outraged?
Please do. I think that's important.
So this is from the Sydney Morning Herald, who did a nice job on this. So they said, how have fans reacted? And they said, with fury. The overwhelming sentiment is disgust, including from supporters of the clubs lining up to take part, and ex-players from like Manchester United legend Gary Neville, who described their actions as pure greed and called for all to be relegated from their respective top divisions. No serious football fan wants this to happen. So if the fans are against it, why is it happening? Capitalism and globalization, essentially. The generational diehards who have followed these clubs across Europe for their entire lives might be fuming, but there are millions of others across the world in markets like the United States, the Middle East, and Asia who spend their discretionary income on these clubs, not the teams who play in their own country. So let's be real. This has felt inevitable for so long for a reason. People will vent their spleen, draw petitions, blah, blah, blah. But one day soon, Barcelona will be at home to Liverpool in the Super League. It'll be hard to switch off in that moment. So, like, I would be upset too if like, say, I'm going to try and do the hockey analogy again. If Toronto was in a league with the Steelheads, and like they play in this league, and then Toronto says, I'm going to go on and play in my own Super League, and I'm going to join Boston in the Super League. And now I'm a Steelheads fan, and I don't get these games versus Toronto because you're going to play in the Super League. I'd be a little upset too.
But the reason that you're not getting the games is because UEFA and FIFA are saying you're not getting the games. Because they're saying we'll play midweek and we'll play on the weekend, are they not?
The Super League is saying that, but the Super League is like, it sounds like, hey, we're going to play ball with these little leagues too, but it sounds like the Super League just wants to be eventually the big league with all these top
and then it'll be
top teams,
like the exhibition games where Liverpool comes over and plays TFC, but like you got to create provisions in the contract, like your star players have to play X amount of time in these games,
right,
in order for us to agree to this. And like, there's no way, for example, Liverpool is going to play their top team against, I don't know, Leeds.
Right.
I guess, like I just said, man, like,
interesting.
It is it is really important to some of these teams. I was watching a game a few months ago. I can't remember who was playing, but they were a big team, like a big Premiership team, and they were playing against this. They're like tier 4, tier 3, but they won some cup. And like part of the agreement is you get a game against this team and you get all the TV revenue and everything. And people, like, literally on the television camera, you can see people in their backyards, which is across the street from the field, watching the game. That's how small this team is. But it changes the course of that team for the next several years to get the money for that one game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I definitely understand why they're upset.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Well, and I think too, like on the North American side of things, especially when TFC were doing extremely, extremely well. I remember watching their run right all the way to the finals for CONCACAF. And if you don't know what CONCACAF is, basically like the West version of Champions. It's it's basically the top teams in like South America and North America playing each other. And for a Toronto team to get that far in CONCACAF is, especially against some of those Mexican clubs, is pretty crazy. Like, it was awesome. Or is CONCACAF just North American? Might just be North American.
I think it's just North American.
Yeah. But anyway, long story short, it's important and very exciting. It was cool to watch. But if you take, TFC and then New York Red Bull and then New York FC and then the LA Galaxy and then, Mexico City and what some of the other clubs, and they just play each other, the excitement kind of isn't there. Like, the excitement for me watching that, and I think what's so exciting about Champions League and the Olympics and FIFA and all that, the World Cup, is the build. Okay, here's a step. And then here's a step. And it's this slow burn. And they're playing other games that week on top of it against teams from their league as well. I can understand how that would upset the balance. Now that the more I think about it, the more it's like,
do you want a little bit more of an impassioned argument against it?
Please.
Yeah.
This one was from Aiden Gibson. He was writing on SB Nation. He says, "This is the action of a bunch of billionaire chodes. In terms of sporting merit, there is absolutely none. The European Soccer League will mostly be a close competition. 12 founding clubs plus an expected other 3 plus 5 clubs who will earn their way into the competition. It renders the Champions League and Europa League dead as a sporting competition. Of course, but despite these clubs' promise to preserve the traditional domestic match calendar, which remains at the heart of the club game, they will do no such thing. Sure,
I don't
they
believe
may fulfill domestic fixtures, but there will be no need to play any meaningful player because there will be no need to actually compete in these domestic leagues. So that's the heart of the problem. If it's like, hey, we're still in the EPL, but we got this Super League. Why would we ever try an EPL when we put all our effort into the Super League where the actual money is? So
Right.
That's why it's like destroying football.
Maybe I'm still misunderstanding, but like from a Champions League perspective, I could care less what happens to the Champions League. But you're essentially making like even the English Premiership, like a secondary league.
Yeah,
you're kind of making it a minor league,
and
that's wild.
And with those teams, there's no relegation, right? It's just those franchises, and you're there forever.
They said the bottom three, so it'll be 15 plus bottom three will be you can earn your way into it, but.
Okay.
The argument is that, hey, it's just going to be the top teams winning every time. Who cares? They're being nice by having this extra 3 teams fight in their way each time.
That's going to cost a lot of people a lot of money.
Which I think is where earn it comes from.
So let me ask you this then, guys. So if you're FIFA/UEFA and you're looking at this, you ban the best brands in your sport.
Like
from
Chelsea.
Your own competition. How do you stand to win from that? Like who from the EPL alone? We got Liverpool, Manchester United. Is Manchester City included in that as well? I know Tottenham is.
On the list of 12 clubs?
Yeah, what do we got?
Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrid, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus.
So that will kill the Italian Super League, and that will kill the EPL if you ban them. But if you let them do this, it will kill the Italian Super League and the EPL.
You're screwed either way.
And the top 2 teams in Spain as well.
Yeah.
It's a good thing PSG stayed out, because ask the average soccer fan how many French soccer teams they know besides PSG.
Well,
Leon.
PSG's chairman is also a member of the board at UEFA. So there's some conflict of interest there. So they're on UEFA's side,
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of rich infighting. And when it comes to that, I kind of go with the fans as the tiebreaker.
Go with
and
the
fans don't want this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what's going to speak from a money perspective, and yes, it's being backed by JP Morgan, but what's going to speak from a money perspective is if Liverpool fans reject this, if Chelsea fans reject this, if Juventus fans reject this, it won't happen. What's great though, is like all these teams are hated because they're some of the best, but it's like if a dozen teams were the Houston Astros. Right? Like every game is going to be hellfire and brimstone.
Yeah.
Every game, every team plays against these guys.
If you know anything about the sport, you know that soccer fans react rationally to everything. Everything. So you don't imagine how they're going to react to this. Like we get all upset and uptight in Toronto when somebody throws a beer can and it hits a baby, which happened.
Someone wears a paper bag over their head and it's the front page for the next 6 months.
In Europe, if you do that, if you bring a baby to a football stadium, they are like, you're an idiot because you're going to get hit with something here. I had a friend who was in Russia for, was it Russia or where was the last World Cup was in Russia, was it not?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah.
Almost.
So. I had a friend
Every
who was
major
there.
sporting event was in Russia for
gone
like
through
3
Russia.
years. Yeah.
I had a friend who was there and he said by the end of the game, everybody was soaked in beer.
Oh,
It was just every time a goal went in, everybody threw their beer. Every time something went wrong, they were all just covered in it. That's just what it is.
Best.
So like, it's a whole different world, but you're right, Steve. I think the negative reactions to this, like this weekend, EPL is going to be cannot miss. Like that'll be fun to watch.
I love it.
No, I love it too. Like I want to see what's a Manchester United game going to look like. And Leeds and Liverpool are playing right now, but I haven't seen anything bad. But I guess are there any fans in the stadiums there yet?
I think there are.
That's a good question.
I believe there are.
Okay.
And what I need to see, so like immediately what I'm looking for, because this isn't my first sports rodeo, where are the people burning their things? Guaranteed there's fans burning their things. right? That's how this always starts. Your team does something you don't like, you burn your shit. Oh, breaking news. This is luck. 8 seconds ago.
I'm going to go to the washroom.
From NHL player safety, Alex Edler suspended 2 games.
Oh, okay.
So that was 8 seconds
About
ago.
right.
I just happened to catch it in my timeline.
That seems about right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the precedent, right? Like Elliot Friedman sort of went through that on the broadcast.
Can I ask you this? Just from listen, I understand that these players are super rich or whatever. From the Super League perspective, the players are rich, good, they made a lot of money, but they've also earned it. Right. Sure. Like we can get into a whole discussion about doctors making less than athletes and whatever. Yeah, I get it. But these sports franchises are worth billions of dollars, and these players deserve a share in that. Naturally, their salaries are going to be high because they're among the top players in the world that can do this one sport that's very in demand. They're making good money. How does banning the players, other than as a hinge point, sort of pressure point, how does that benefit UEFA? Like if you ban the clubs, that's one thing, but are you going to ban the players who are signed contractually to these clubs? Like that to me seems a bit, I guess that's
a great point.
That's one of the only, these players have worked their whole lives. And what are they supposed to do?
What's the legality there? I have a binding contract with Juventus. I don't know how contracts work, but I have a binding contract with Juventus. I'm supposed to play for Juventus. This is where Juventus plays now, and I can't play for Italy, or I can't play for France, or whatever. However that works. It's just corruption weird. Fighting corruption.
It's weird to blame the players for the choices of the owner.
I wonder if they're hoping the players will revolt, and that's why they're saying it.
That's what they're doing. It's corruption fighting corruption.
Which is super shitty. Yeah. Because the players should not be used as a leverage point here.
And who suffers here?
The fans and the players.
And the players.
It's the little guys. It's always the little guys.
Yeah.
Right?
The owners are fine.
FIFA seems like I think we all agree that FIFA is not the best organization. And all of these clubs trying to get together and screw over these leagues that they play in is a terrible idea. Who wins in any of this?
No one. JP Morgan.
Yeah, JP Morgan's going to win big.
The owners of Chelsea, always rooting for him. All right.
Wow.
Get that yacht. Get that yacht. You deserve. Get that third yacht.
Yikes. Well, that's a very interesting development. This is going to be fascinating to watch. We'll see what happens. But
I cannot wait for the 45-minute phone call I'm going to have with my father-in-law about this.
Yeah?
Just have him shout this at me in Scottish. Cannot wait.
All right, well, listen.
He's a Liverpool fan, and he's upset.
We will wrap it up there. Gentlemen, thank you. I love you. Thursday, we will be back. I said gentlemen as in Steve and Jesse. To you, I say thank you so much for listening to the show. We really appreciate it. We will be back Thursday. It's going to be an interesting one. Very curious to see what happens with this Super League between now and then, because I have a feeling there's something fluid here, and I bet there's some sort of, here's how I believe this will end. UEFA and FIFA will somehow profit from this, but the players will probably not.
Folks, we care.
They will probably sign an agreement and work together within the framework.
But their thing is we got the Champions League, playing our damn Champions League. We're UEFA. We made this. You already have a league. And they're like, no. So I don't know. I'm very interested.
Maybe they're sick of UEFA and FIFA.
Yeah.
Maybe they're shitty too. It's like, hey, if we're going to be shitty, at least we should profit from it. You know what I mean? We're shitty anyway. We might as well make some money, right?
And you got the hordes going, we've been through the worst year of our lives. Can we just watch some goddamn soccer?
Right. Yep.
And it's 20 rich people infighting.
Adam, do you care about the next Leafs game?
You know what? I thought I did, but then I was told that I do not. So
I thought I did too.
Yeah, I thought I cared. I thought when the Leafs lost, I was disappointed. And when they won, I was excited. But I found out that is not nearly enough. Perspective be damned. You
gotta poop your pants to care.
You are with us or you're against us. And what are you going to be? Right?
You're going to care. You just got to care.
We love you, Steve. Thank you so much. We'll see you Thursday.
the Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.